Hello and welcome to Founder Led, the podcast where we dive into the minds of today's successful entrepreneurs to uncover the strategies, insights, and hard-won lessons that drive real business growth. Today, we're joined by Keenan, who's the CEO and president at a sales growth company and who literally wrote the book on gap selling, which has become a wildly adopted sales approach and methodology in the industry. So with that, welcome to the show, Keenan.
Thank you, baby. Glad to be here. Gonna have some fun.
Yeah, let's get into it. So, normally I kick this off with folks sharing their origin story. And so I'd love if you can share a bit about, your origin story, but like the origin story of you writing the book on gap selling and, what inspired it and how has it evolved since the idea first came to you?
Wow. God, I don't know what I can tell you this, that phrase, that very few ideas are eureka moments is true. There was no eureka like, oh, I need to write this. I had been doing sales consulting for quite some time, had a lot of clients in your target market, between 1 and 20 million, always trying to scale, trying to figure out, turn the team around. And I had one particular client who said, hey man, I need you to do a training. And I'm like, I don't have a training. I'm concerned because you need to figure something out. So I just sat down and started figuring out what it could look like or how it could look. And from that presentation or that training I did for that day, he was like, yo, man, you're onto something. And then I was like, okay. And so then I started thinking about how I could turn it into a book. And then as that thinking started happening, I went back and looked at all my old blog posts and all the other content I had created. And I was like, oh, there's something here. And I just basically started moving the pieces around.
Yeah. Okay. And what have you found to be like the common sales mistakes that founders or even inexperienced salespeople make? I know for myself, a big part of my education is I do very little discovery and I dive right into like solutioning instead of really digging into that pain point and really creating that like current state and like trying to get what that future state looks like for them. So yeah, what are some of the other common mistakes that founders or early sellers make in their careers?
I mean, I think they all stem from that very concept, what I call product-centric selling. I mean, for decades, even in spite of the best efforts of some sales methods like Spin or Solution or even Sandler, where their whole emphasis is, find the pain, find the pain. The truth of the matter is, it's still around find the pain so you can sell something. They're very product-centric and they're very seller-centric. And the motivation of the seller is, how do I get them to say something like, let me tell you about my product, right? Like this, so they can just start spewing. And they don't really understand that the way to sell is to come from a help mindset. Like, so what are you trying to do? What's preventing you from doing it today? Because you can't do it today, what's it costing you? How long have you been struggling in this type of environment? Is it really worth changing? Salespeople aren't very good at really uncovering those elements. And so if you're not uncovering those elements, you're just an order taker. So I'd say if I had to net it out, the biggest issue that sales teams and sales individuals have today is they're not designed or not operating from a help mindset. They're operating from a sell mindset, and it's about them, not the buyer.
Are there a sequence of questions that you find work well to open someone up, maybe not getting right into their revenue numbers because they might not want to share that right away, but the right sequencing of questions to help understand their current state and that it has this logical flow?
Yeah, 100,000%. So it depends on how the meetings come to the table, but if we're assuming they're coming for a first meeting, like they agreed to show up, right? Let's make it more fun. Give me a particular product or service or business that I'd be selling.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. Now let's do another quick scenario where, I'm a consultant, right? I run a consulting firm and it's a RevOps consulting firm where we work with SaaS companies, helping them drive operational excellence with Salesforce and HubSpot implementations and just improve their overall like go-to-market operation and motion. So if they are speaking to a Series A or a Series B SaaS company, how would you lead that discovery?
What am I selling?
You are selling consulting services to help them drive operational excellence through a lot of these CRM implementations.
Okay. All right. That helps better. Okay. All right. So again, let's assume it's a first meeting. try to figure out what we do and they're interested, I might say, okay, hey, Rowan, I appreciate it taking a second. I ask the exact same question almost every time. Walk me through what prompted you to take this call today and what's going on over there.
Yeah, well, I've been seeing your content on LinkedIn, and I know we've got a couple of shared connections. So basically, we are growing super fast, and we've hired a lot of sales like closers, and we had an initial kind of like setup with Salesforce, and there's a bit more complexity in terms of, kind of like data capture and sales process and lead routing and a few other things. And we have one Salesforce admin. They're more of an implementator, and I feel like we're missing a bit of a holistic strategy to make sure that we're setting ourselves up for success. And I don't want to hire more salespeople if the system can't handle a streamlined and effective kind of like sales motion.
How is this lack of efficiency and effectiveness with Salesforce affecting the sales team now or affecting sales now?
Yeah, well, I know I've been getting some feedback that onboarding is a bit confusing. We don't have like a clear system on how like territories are being managed, and there's a bit of overlap there. So there's some confusion around territory management as new sales reps get onboarded. I know we're not capturing there's a lot of inconsistency in data capture and how complete it is during sales calls and these sort of things. And some of the feedback I'm getting from our customer success team, our post-sales team, is we're not sharing like the key reasons why they bought the software and the key value drivers, and so they feel like they don't have a complete picture when they get on these like kickoff or onboarding calls. Okay,
so when they don't have that information, are the customers getting frustrated? Are you seeing, because of that, over time, are you seeing your churn increase? So you threw a lot of things at me, but what I primarily heard is the information isn't getting in there. So if the information isn't getting in there, how's it affecting things? Is it affecting your win rate? Is your team not making quota? You told me you're growing really quickly, so it sounds like it's not affecting sales. It's affecting churn? Like this lack of data, how's it affecting the organization?
Yeah, it's, we haven't been measuring like the before and after the past 6 months, how I think like win rates have been more or less steady. I'm just getting some qualitative feedback that, the onboarding is not the smoothest. The onboarding of new reps is not the smoothest. The onboarding of new clients is not the smoothest because the data is incomplete. So it's a bit of qualitative feedback right now. And I really just want to get ahead of it because before we pour more into demand and driving more MQLs, I want to make sure that we have a good foundation in place.
How many reps are you hire? How many new reps a quarter are you hiring now?
Yeah, we're hiring about 4 new reps. In the past quarter, we hired 4, and we're looking to maintain that velocity for the next 2 quarters and then dial it up to 6 to 8 per quarter following that.
Okay. And how many new customers are you bringing on?
Yeah, similar, around, say, like 8 new customers per month. And that's planning to accelerate as we get more reps in.
So because it's making the reason I'm asking, let me step back and help you understand, is we found that, yes, Salesforce can be clunky at times and frustrating at times, but the amount of money and time and effort to fix it needs to match the impact of it all. So if it's just dragging down onboarding a little, it's a little clunky, but it's not affecting your ability to bring on customers. It's not affecting CAC. It's not affecting win rates. I just like you to understand, like, why make this investment?
That's a good question. That's why I wanted to speak to you to see whether it makes sense to make this investment and also hear a bit more about the solutions that you offer.
I mean, yeah, from a solution perspective, I'd have a bunch of questions on how it's set up and what's going on. And from what it sounds like, there's nothing huge here. And so I could walk you through that, but without really understanding what the problem is, I really want to make sure this is the type of investment you want to make. Now, what I am curious to is when you talk about the scale and you talk about the impact of the onboarding, what are your growth goals and what are you trying to get to in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yep. So right now we are at that 5 million annual ARR range. And in the next 6 months, we'd like to be at that like 7 million mark. And in the next 12 months, we would like to double our ARR. So that is the ultimate goal that we've, shared internally and with our stakeholders.
Okay. So what I would do here, Rowan, is if the client let me, I would start talking about where he could expect these Salesforce issues to actually not just be an inconvenience. Do you see what I'm saying? But actually start to slow his ability to reach those goals. You said to me as the client, you said, I just want to make sure we're able to continue to grow and we can make our goals. And so I'm just sort of checking in early. So what he's basically saying is, or what I heard or interpret that is as, I don't think there's anything really causing us any real problems right now. It's an inconvenience. We don't kind of like it. Qualitatively, the people are complaining, but if it's not really affecting us, right? So if my service is going to cost $100,000 to fix, this is why we lose to the status quo. Because he has problems. Oh, the reps it takes too long to onboard, and the data's not there, and the customers don't like it when they onboard. Well, is anybody churning? No. Is it affecting win rate? No. Is it affecting quarter attainment? No. So no, they're not going to pay, generally speaking, they're not going to pay $100,000, whatever it is to fix this. They might pay $5 to $10,000 to do a little tweak. So I have to move that to, okay, but if you don't fix it now and pay that $100,000, what's the impact going to be in 6 months or 8 months? At what point in time is that going to really start to cause problems? Then I help you see that problem. And you're like, okay, this makes sense. So I appreciate you telling me I need to fix it, but I bet I'm going to have to, because if I don't, the cost of not fixing it by X is going to be Y. So let's keep talking. Do you see what I did there?
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think that's really good because oftentimes people try to, even if they've uncovered some pain, they're like, oh, I've got a pain, let me then start this solution. But they got to think about like, what is their cost of services? And it's almost like the pain needs to be 5 to 10x the gain. At least, right? To your point. And so it sounds like you were just like really excavating, trying to find that $1 million problem. And you didn't find it in the current state, but you see it in like this future state that they're trying to get to. And what's the opportunity cost going to be if they don't get there?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So go ahead. Yeah.
What I call this information you give me is what we call here at ASC the bid information, buyer input data. Buyer input data is the information that the buyer gives you. The buyer gives you, not you assume, you make up in your head, you thought they said. It's what they actually give you that tells you the cost of inaction is greater than the cost of action. In this role play, I think you recognize, and you were pretty clear, that really all you gave me was that we're not capturing the right information and it's kind of dragging onboarding on. I guess I should have asked, why is it dragging onboarding on? I probably would have got there. But you're only onboarding 4 quarter, right? So that's not massive. You're still growing. You're not seeing a decline in win rates. You're not seeing people not hitting quota. So really in my head, I keep saying, so what? So what? So what that it's broken? Like, who cares? Right?
Yeah.
And it's not until I can find out that why that's broken is worth fixing, I will not sell. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It literally does not make sense.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So shall we continue on with this simulation? Like, how do you continue this call to maybe feel like you've completed what you need to do? And then what would step 2? Would it be setting up a deep dive following?
You want to go back into it?
Yeah, let's kind of play this one out. And then once you've kind of got what you need, we can kind of just like summarize those next steps. So, so we're looking to get to that number in the next 12 months.
7, so you want to add another 2 million. So in order to do that, how many reps does the plan call for?
Yep. So if each rep has a $1 million quota, then we're going to need to hire 5 more reps within the next, call it 12 months. But
okay. All right.
Yeah.
And so in your current plan, how long have you built in ramp up time to fully loaded? And what's your ramp up time to fully loaded?
It's about 90 days.
So a rep should be on track to $1 million within 90 days.
They're fully onboarded and ramped, and they will get their quota after the 90-day onboarding.
Okay, so the 90-day onboarding is they're ramped, but how much time do you give them to be on track to the $1 million? Nobody, are you telling me at day 90, 91, they should be able to get to $1 million from day 91 past? Right? So you're basically saying my reps will be at $1 million. I'm terrible at math. 12 months plus 3, 15 months down. Or once they have that, there's another 3 months for them to ramp from a selling perspective, building pipeline, et cetera. Then we expect them to be on target to $1 million. What is your on target time frame to $1 million?
Oh, you know what? We haven't even thought about that. So if you have a benchmark that you might recommend, I'm all ears.
Okay, let's put that aside for a second, but let's just make some assumptions. You said it's taking that the inability to get the information in Salesforce is extending onboarding. By how long?
Yeah, so it's, typically we'd like them fully ramped in terms of onboarded within 90 days. And it takes about, 120, sometimes more for them to feel comfortable taking on their full quota. And yeah.
So that's 30% longer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you just played simple numbers, and so this may vacillate a little, but if you play simple numbers, then this is telling me that you getting to your plan is now 30% delayed.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm assuming when on that little spreadsheet you have fully ramped $1 million 12 months from there, or 8 months from there, and 9 months from there. And then you got another one, 8 or 9 months, whatever you put, right? And every time it misses a day, everything pushes out.
Mm-hmm.
So just on back of the napkin math, it's telling me that if you're expecting an additional $2 million in the next 12 months, you can probably assume you're only going to get 1.3 of that.
Yeah.
If this isn't fixed, if you are unable to fix this. So now this makes more sense to me why you want to try to get this addressed sooner than later, because if it's slowing down onboarding, that onboarding has real numbers attached to it, then yes, you could be out. Now, let me ask you a question. What happens if you miss these targets? Can you just push them out? Do you have venture capital that's telling you to make these at certain times? And if you don't, you run the risk of not getting additional tranches. Like what's the impact if you don't meet your timelines from a revenue perspective?
Yeah, well, certain funds get unlocked based on revenue targets. So if we don't hit our revenue targets within a certain timeline, then that's going to slow down growth in other areas in terms of hiring, with engineering, product design, customer success, and other parts of the company.
So what I'm hearing is it's going to substantially or could substantially impact your ability to execute across the growth business, the growth plan across the whole org. Additional developers, additional product offerings, new markets, et cetera, all of the above, correct?
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. So, and based on the numbers you gave me, an additional $2 million, just that 30% alone, even if you capture it late, we're talking about $700,000, $800,000. If you don't capture it, it could be worse than that. If you don't get that first unlock, what's that first unlock worth to you?
Yeah, so if we hit our number, that's going to unlock about 4 to 8 new hires company-wide. And so, we have
how much money is it though? Like how much money do you unlock? Is it 1 million, 2 million, 4 million?
Yeah, about $1 million.
Okay. So if you stay on target within 12 months, your investors will unlock another $1 million to you?
If we hit our revenue targets, it'll unlock $1 million. Yes.
Okay. So now we're looking at almost $2 million at risk.
Yeah. Yeah. In terms of revenue not coming in and then revenue not being unlocked to enable more growth in the company. Mm-hmm.
All right, so see what I've done here, Rowan? I've started to peel back the layer and the cost of not fixing this, or the sticks around. And I didn't just stick at, you won't get that 70,000. I even conceded that he may get it, but he's going to get it later. I used his numbers. I didn't project, what happened? No, I literally said, you told me it's going to push it by another 30 days. That 30 days, just like anything else, pushes everything out further. So if your little business plan said from 90 days to 1 year, I'm going to get $1 million, now it's going to be an extra 30 days. So if it's January 1st, $1 million, now you're not getting that shit till April, right?
Yep.
And so now I'm showing you, based on what you've told me, based on the bid information, what your world looks like. So now I would turn around and say, all right, understanding all this makes more sense to me. Now, if we're out of time, let's set up a meeting and say what we could do. If we're not out of time, I'd say, I don't sell this product, so I probably missed this piece. I'd want to start digging in a little too. Okay, so tell me what's going on. That's what I would do next is, all right, what's going on? How are they implementing the shit into Salesforce? What fields how is Salesforce set up? How is it rolled out? How are the fields set up? You know what I'm saying? I'd start digging into what we call process questions to understand now what's going on. Like those are the root cause, what's actually causing you the problem. Then when I get all that information, like, all right, I know how to fix this. And I'd say, this is what I'd recommend. Watch what I do here. Everybody pay attention. Because the Salesforce was set up this way, because the fields are implemented in this manner, because of this, because of that, because of this is what's causing the problem. And therefore, that is why the information is not getting in well. That's why the information is not shared with other people. That's why you can't run the reports you want. That's why you're running blind. And because you're running blind, you told me it's dragging out onboarding.
Mm-hmm.
It's making it difficult for new customers to get onboarded. And we didn't even talk about that. I could have went, okay, so if you're onboarding, it's supposed to take, 3 months for onboarding, not employee, but customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then what's the impact of that? I probably could have squeezed more money out of that one. But because of all of those, it's costing you anywhere between $1.7 and $3.4 million. Did I get all of that right? And you'll be like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, let me show you how we would address that. So now when I sell the product, I'm selling it in the frame of, here are all the root causes. You told me you implement it this way. We're going to take that down and do it this way. You told me that your team aren't getting the fields because of this. We're going to change that and make it look like this. This would allow people to access the fields faster, run the reports you want, blah, 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 blah. And then just by describing what I'm going to give you, it's almost like a video game. They see everything get unlocked.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, oh, when that's unlocked, and then when that's unlocked, oh, yes, all of that. We'll take it. Let's go.
Okay, so you're you're creating this massive $1 million plus pain point that has a huge opportunity cost if not solved, and you're compounding it to be as large and painful as possible. And then you are, on the other side of it, you're presenting the solution, but it's almost like you're helping them see around corners like this video game. It's like you unlock 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. And it sounds like you're also creating some doubt that they probably can't solve it themselves, right? It's such a painful, hairy problem, and you're describing it fairly articulately just in the way you're unpacking it, that it's like, oh wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought. I need an expert to help me solve it. So do you think about like, how do you, again, like big problem and also like seed like doubt that it's really hard for them to solve it themselves?
So that's a fantastic question, bro. Fantastic question. Because what it does is it highlights the problem with sales and you didn't even realize it. What I do here is I am not trying to seed anything and I am not trying to create anything. I'm simply trying to get the most accurate, holistic picture of their current environment as possible. That's all I'm trying to do. There is no creation, there is no manipulation, there is no creating. I simply want to understand as deeply as possible what's going on. And if that information by itself, on its own merit, suggests you need to change, I don't have to do anything else. I can just sit back, right? It's like, again, let's pretend you're an oncologist. You're not trying to get them to think the cancer is worse than it really is, right? It's you just want to understand what is the actual cancer. And so if I'm going through this process and at the end of the day, you say, well, it's only, it doesn't really affect us if it takes an extra month to get these guys on and customers aren't churning. And if we did get that $1 million 30 or 60 days later, it's no big deal, right? Then I'm not going to say anything, right? There's nothing to sell you. Right? Yep. Just because you don't like it or it's a pain in the ass. Now you might do it, if I can send you a guy in for $5,000, you're like, oh, great. But if my service costs 50, 70 grand, it's not worth it. So that's what I want everybody to really understand here. The traditional selling mindset is so entrenched that even when people think they're solution selling, they use words like create, make, fear, and expand. No, I am simply, the goal is to get the buyer to tell you everything that's going on. And if everything that's going on says they need to change, you didn't do anything. You just put a mirror up to them. That's all we're trying to do, is put a mirror up to. Now, here's why it works most of the time. The reason I asked that very first question, what prompted you to take this call? When people are really busy, have a million freaking things to do, they don't schedule hour-long conversations.
Right.
And even if they do, they don't do it because the sales force is a little messed up. So what is happening is many times they're sensing something is really bigger. They feel something is really bigger, but they haven't been able to really put their fingers on it. So they think it's the pain. Like, oh, it's a pain in the butt to manage the sales force. But what's behind them, they can't put their fingers on, that's like subliminal or subconscious, is shit. it's taken longer to get these people on board. And if these people don't get on board fast enough, I'm going to miss my number. And if I miss that number, I got to go back to the board and explain why we didn't make it. And that puts at risk that next tranche or unlocks that money we want. And I don't need that. But that's all subconscious, right? And so by asking and asking and asking, they're like, yes, that. And now it's like poker. You've turned over every fucking card.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it. Right. And unlike poker, when you lose, you're like, ooh, I don't want to do that again. You know what I'm saying? You can fix it. Yeah. So it really depends. I mean, what you do is you have a second call. You don't do a recommendation or anything. You just basically tell them what you think you would do and you explain your product and service. So this is where you can sell. It's what you said before we got on. I'd love to start talking about the product, but that's when you can talk about the product. You're like, okay, this is who we are. This is what we do. This is why we're good. You know, this is what we're probably going to recommend. This is why we're going to recommend it. And then you let them ask as many questions. What questions do you have for us about our process, about our approach, about our tool set, who we've worked with in the past? Like, this is where they can ask you questions after you tell them who you are. And then when you get through all of that, then you get to the proposal, what we call recommendation stage. And you basically got it. All right, so what we like to send you over. Normally what we do is we like to schedule a recommendation call. So understand is we have a very idea of how we're going to recommend solving this for you. So can we schedule a recommendation call where we'll walk you through how we recommend fixing this. And then what we do here is we put together a presentation that starts with everything we talked about. And we say, here's your current state. And we list all the problems you described. Then we go, this is the future state, what you want to make happen. And then we pull it forward and say, here's the gap. And then at the very bottom, we say cost of inaction. And then we ask them, is that correct? Did we get all this correct? Yes. Then we tell them the impact of that. We ask them, but then we tell them why, the root causes, why all that's happening. And I say, is this all true? They say yes. And we say, all right, we got it right. So because of all of this, here's our recommendation. And we literally line up the recommendation right against the root causes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So if someone wanted to get started and they're like, look, my sales process does not match what you just described there. What is the best way for them to like enter your ecosystem, maybe get access to some of these resources, maybe these decks to have this before and after, be able to illustrate that gap? How can someone get started here, including myself?
We have a shit ton of resources on salesgrowth.com. So it's salesgrowth.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. I can help you out. But yeah, we have tons of resources. We're rolling out a pretty powerful operating system, go-to-market operating system that you can download now on salesgrowth.com. It talks about the problem identification chart, which we didn't even address here, which is a whole nother conversation. It walks you through how to train and then manage a team at the opportunity layer. It's extremely robust. So there's that. And then there's the book. The book is probably the best place to get started, just to understand the concept. So they pick their head up and they're like, I don't think I like this. What are my options? What can I do? How do I change? Like it could be something as simple as, deciding to lose weight. So it's like, okay, I'm going to read about it. A little bit of cost, a little bit of benefit, right? Then they realize, I really, really want to lose weight really fast. And they think maybe I need a trainer. Maybe I need to go gym membership. Maybe I need this, stop eating. So they start looking for what their options are to change. But all of that goes through the process that starts with, is my current state untenable or intolerable? And if it isn't, nobody changes. So gap selling is built on the premise of, can I help you discover whether or not your current state is untenable and intolerable enough to change, and therefore is the future state desirable enough to put in the effort or spend the money, and that's based on the size of the gap. So the reason I say we don't work with any specific industry is because we could do this for everything. Parents could do with their kids and getting them to get better grades. The parents could do is get a kid to eat their freaking broccoli. It's literally about helping people process the change for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, that's really, it truly is like service selling, because you're not really trying to sell them anything. You're really focused on, let me deeply understand your psychology and how you're thinking about the business and whether this is truly an untenable thing. And if not, that's okay too. Like I'll send you some other low cost or free resources so that you can try to work it out yourself. And if not, if it does get to that point where it is untenable, we can have a follow-up conversation.
Yep.
Right.
You got it.
So what are those things you're listening to maybe during that discovery call where you're like, okay, this isn't that big of a problem. You might even just DQ them to move further down the path. A lot of times people try to force the conversation. They waste a lot of time and spin their wheels when there isn't that big problem. So what do you listen for that might DQ someone?
The definition of the problems. So in execution, this is one of the areas that people who try to DIY gap selling bomb. Notice when you would say something to me, I would ask you a very specific question. Like, okay, you said it's delaying onboarding. I said, but how long? Okay. I forget some of the other questions I asked you, but I always want a very specific answer in dollars, time, weight, whatever, I can't think of the other metrics, but revenue, you know what I'm saying? Percentage. Like I always want I say it in the training, I say it in the book, define everything. So when someone comes at you and they're like, oh, it's taken us too long to get our inventory off the truck, and it's taking, and because of that, we lose too much. We don't sell all the inventory, and we have to, we have inventory leakage, and therefore we have to throw it away. Well, there was like 5 things right there I want defined. How much inventory? How frequently does it come in? How long does it take to get on the shelf? How much are you leaking? How much does that cost in leakage? You see what I'm saying? Like every one of those, they said, the average salesperson was like, oh, they're losing a lot of money because they're getting leakage. It takes too long. And then it sits on the shelves too long. And then they have to throw some away. And then, how much is each piece of inventory worth? You see what I'm saying? Like every single one of those is defined. And once they're defined, you already know if it's worth changing or not.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You already know.
Yeah. If it's worth your time to help them change it.
Yeah, the data, you keep asking the questions, and you get everything defined, and then you know if it's untenable or not. I don't have to like convince anybody or anything.
Yeah. Okay. That's really good. And the beauty of these AI tools and transcripts is you're capturing all that information. So then as you build that business case, it's based purely on what they have shared with you, their numbers, and then you can back out like a bulletproof business case.
Yes, it's there. You're getting it, Ron. It's their numbers. It's their environment. I'm not manufacturing shit.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. Well, Keenan, this has been super helpful. So if people want to learn more, get the book, head to the website. They can download a bunch of resources there. Anything else you want to share with our audience before we wrap it up?
No, I just hope it was helpful. Was it what you expected? Was it what you wanted, bro?
Yeah, it was. And so let's call it there, and we'll wrap the podcast. All right. So thank you so much, Keenan.